All right, welcome back to episode number 4 of the Coastal Performance Nutrition Podcast. My name is Callum. I'm an online and face-to-face coach. This fucking dog, man. I'm an online and face-to-face coach based here on the Central Coast, New South Wales, specializing in nutrition. This is my staffy, Hank. He is basically a human in a dog's body, and he's in a lot of my content, so I thought I'd better let him have a bit of a podcast appearance today. But today's episode is going to be, Hank, see you, bud. Today's episode is going to be an elaboration of some content that I posted on Instagram. If I'm sweating like no tomorrow during this podcast, it's because the fan was too loud and fucking up the mic. So no fan, it's hot. Anyway, 10 lessons from 10 years in the gym. And underneath that in brackets, I wrote without any generic Chat GPT shit. Because one of my big commitments is trying to have unique opinions, a unique voice, unique insight, and trying to come up with my own ideas rather than just scraping shit from Chat GPT or taking ideas from other people and just spitting it out as my own. Because I think I see a lot of these things where it's like 10 lessons from, my time in the gym, or 10 things for you to focus on this year. And it's like, eat more protein, do more steps, blah, blah, blah. And that's all valid advice, and I've given pretty much all of that advice in the past as well. But it's just not all that helpful. I think the stuff that's more helpful than that is a lot of the stuff that goes on up here, like the mental frames that you develop through not just training, but committing to improving yourself, and the mindset that you adopt, the mental frameworks that you adopt, the perspective that you adopt. I think that's the actual lessons that you take from not just committing to the gym for 10 years, but just committing to something for 10 years. Yes, you learn a lot, but everyone who's in your position, they probably learn a similar amount of things. But what is unique to us is the lessons that we take from things. So I'm pretty much just going to go through the post itself, but I want to try and elaborate a little bit more on some of the things that I wrote and where it's come from. Number one, I'm gonna, just before I do this, I'm gonna move this to this computer so I don't have to keep looking off to the side. All right, So, number one, be proud now. Even if it's just for doing 5 minutes on the treadmill. Otherwise, you never will be. You'll keep moving the goalposts further away. So this is something that is very relative to myself. I think it's very easy to lose sight of where you started, whether it's, like I said, whether it's in the gym, whether it's in your business, whether it's in your relationship, whatever it is, or just as a person in general. Be proud now for the positive things and the things you're achieving and working towards now. Be proud of those things, because if you just keep telling yourself that you're going to be proud at an X date or after X achievement, I can guarantee that you'll hit that thing and you'll just have a tiny little celebration and be like, yeah, that was cool. And then you just move the goalposts further away. Like, you never reach that end outcome or that end goal, or at least I never have. Big example was for years and years, I had a massive goal of hitting a 220 kilo deadlift because it's 5 20 kilo plates on each side of the bar. And that was my big North Star. And then I hit that and I was like, oh, now I'm gonna go for 225. Now I'm gonna go for 230. Now I'm gonna go for 250. Now I'm gonna go for 6 plates each side. I'm gonna go for 260. Then I hit that. Now I'm gonna go. You always keep moving the goalposts. And I think some of us are just inclined to be that way. I am one of those people. I hit certain landmarks in my business and I just sort of brush it off and just set the next goalpost. So a big reflection or reflective moment for me is to be proud now. And that was almost a hard thing for me to write the other day, because I was like, oh man, that hits in the feels, because it's hard to be proud of yourself sometimes when you have these massive aspirations. It's hard to be proud of what you're doing now when you have these goals to be doing way more in the future, but you will drive yourself absolutely insane. And I have driven myself absolutely insane at times, trying to look way ahead in the future and not congratulate myself or be proud of the things that I've achieved right here, right now. And that's a massive thing that training in the gym and just committing to getting stronger in the gym has taught me that I'm trying to be better at in the rest of my life, especially with business. I've had really fast growth as of the back end of last year and this year, but you just keep setting the goalposts further. So be proud now. Otherwise, you never will be. Number 2, have fun. Seriously, have fun. You're gonna be doing this shit for 10 plus years. Make room and plan for some chocolate, ice cream, and margaritas, plural, in moderation. So what I mean by that is if you're gonna be doing something or you plan to be doing something for the rest of your life, which is, going to the gym, looking after myself pretty well for the most part, and training, focusing on my nutrition at differing levels of intensity depending on what I'm doing, but focusing on some sort of training in the gym, I'm gonna do it for the rest of my life. And that's what I have committed to. It'll always be there. And if that's the case, how do you do something for the rest of your life? How do you make something so sustainable that you keep doing it for decades on end? It's gotta be somewhat fun. And I think there's a difference between something being fun and something being funner. Like, you may not find the gym fun, but at least find a way to make it funner. And whatever that thing is for you, do that. If that means listening to your favorite music, do that. If that means instead of doing 4 weight sessions a week, you only do 2, but you do 2 Pilates sessions instead, do that. When it comes to your nutrition, if fun for you, if you just fucking love chocolate or ice cream, or you love beer, find a way to find that middle ground where, okay, currently I'm having 3 beers a night, but I'm gonna commit to getting stronger and training better in the gym and looking after my nutrition. I'm gonna drop down to 1 beer a night, or 1 beer every second day, or something like that. Just for no other reason other than the fact that you find it fun. And if we can make things more enjoyable and stick to them for a longer period of time, that is gonna be way better than a short-term sprint that isn't sustainable. So I think that's where a lot of people, and me included, where I've gone wrong, was trying to be way too fucking serious about things. It's not that serious. You can still get amazing results and not hate yourself or hate the process throughout. And the only way, in my opinion, that you do that is try to make it a little bit funner. And it's what I personally try to do with a lot of my coaching clients. It's like, when I have their intake form and it's like getting them to detail all their nutrition, pardon me, or their training or their lifestyle, how can I keep what seems to be their favorite things or the enjoyable things, how can I keep that in their program or in that nutrition? If they love chocolate, and big capital letters, love chocolate, which comes up frequently, how can I make sure they still have room to have chocolate? Because if I just remove any semblance of fun from people's life, what are the chances that they're going to be doing this in some way, shape, or form 20 years down the line or 10 years down the line, so that they can at least have some of these lessons of their own that I've taken from 10 years in the gym? So whatever you're doing, you're going to be doing it for ages. Have fun. At least make it funner. It doesn't need to be fun, but more enjoyable or more fun is always going to be better. And it's finding that balance between training and nutrition, structuring it well enough to move you towards your goal, but still having aspects of fun sprinkled in as well. And like I said there, make room and plan for some chocolate, ice cream, and margaritas, plural, in moderation. Just because you want to get stronger or more muscular, fitter, whatever it is, doesn't mean you have to say bye-bye to some cocktails or a night out on the beers or whatever it is. You can still do that stuff. You just have to be more mindful about how often and how intense it is. And instead of going out and getting absolutely fucked once a month, maybe it's once every 3 months or once every 2 months. It's those minor changes where you still keep the things that fill up your cup, you still keep those in your schedule, but you're just more mindful about how intense and how frequent you indulge in the things that are actively moving you away from your goals. Because of course, margaritas aren't helping your long-term gym performance or your long-term fitness performance. They're not actively helping, but I think they are in some sort of weird way. Because if you hate your fucking life, you're probably not going to train for the next 10 years. Versus if you really enjoy your life because you still give yourself the flexibility to have some chocolate, have some ice cream, have your favorite things, have some beers, have some margaritas, and you train really hard, you're just going to have a higher chance of doing this for a long period of time. So being happy with your life is very supportive of allowing room for you to do some things that are a little bit harder and a little bit less fun, but you know are good for you. Being training and nutrition, or focusing on your fitness overall. Number 3, go slow to go fast. Trying to rush things will just make you do dumb shit and slow down your progress. Anytime I have tried to get bigger too fast, I've just ended up bulking way too quick and gaining a shit ton of body fat because I was eating too much and trying to force feed muscle growth. Anytime I've tried to rush my strength, I've done a little injury or tweaked something or overtrained. Anytime I've tried to lose fat too quickly, I've just bounced back in the other direction. Anytime you try to rush something and you don't have the training wheels there or some level of support to support you, you're just setting yourself up to go even slower than if you were to just commit to something that's a little bit slower in the first place. So you might look at something and go, hey, I've got this approach that is gonna get me to this place in 6 months' time. I've got this approach that could get me there in 6 weeks, but there's also like an 80% chance that I fall flat on my face and achieve nothing at all. A lot of people go for this option. Even though they have like a 70 or 80%, that's a made up number, but even though they have such a high chance of failing, they still go for the fast option. But the sure option is going slow and you'll go faster in the long run. It's the tortoise versus the hare or whatever that analogy is. Like, I think of it years ago, I had a big obsession with learning about investing and all this sort of stuff and like deep diving into what do I do to make sure my future is really, really fruitful. And then you come across guys like Warren Buffett who are like, just put your money in the S&P 500 in an index fund. It's going to grow like, 8 to 12% per year. It's not fancy, but just put all your money in there and you'll grow 8 to 12% per year. Or you could try and find, pick these individual stocks that might give you a 100, 200, 300% per year growth, but then you make some bad picks and you lose 100 grand in a bad stock. So you've always got to look at if whatever the upside is, make sure you know the downside. And for a lot of things, when it comes to our training and nutrition, you can go faster, but just make sure you're aware of the downside, which is usually falling flat on your face and going nowhere. So go slow to go fast. Pick the slow, sustainable, long-term approach that after 10 years in the gym will get you to where you want to go. I all the time used to get frustrated with my strength or my muscle growth plateauing, and I'd end up doing the world's dumbest program or dumbest diet. And it'd work for like 3 or 4 weeks and then I'd injure my shoulder, or I would, have a little binge episode and ruin a fat loss phase, or I'd feel exhausted and take a 2-week deload just to recover from how intense the training was. Whereas I could have just stuck to the fundamental stuff that all these people were telling me works, but I was like, I don't want to wait 12 months. I want to do it in 3 months. So I'm going to go and do this thing. And then 3 months later, you're exactly where you were 3 months ago. And those people are there like, told you, should have just stuck to what we were telling you to do. So I think it doesn't help that you've got so much bullshit online that is giving you all of these ways to get rich quick when it comes to your health. So it's obviously not getting rich quick, but it's like lose fat quick, gain muscle quick, get strong quick. It's all these promises of doing things fast, but no one explains the downside. Let's say, for example, you'll see there's a bunch of these companies that their thing is rapid fat loss for beginners. So it's like, hey, you got 20 kilos to lose. We're going to do it in like 17 weeks. which is very fast. And you see these wild transformations that happen in this time period. And they're legit. It's crazy. But what you don't see, and what I do see, is all the people who try that, the 9 out of 10 people who try that and land up at square one or in a worse situation. I cannot count how many times I've had someone come to me who said they went to one of these coaches who promise, 1 or 2 kilos per week every single week, and they promise 20 kilos in 15 weeks. I have so many of those people who come to me and say, I actually fell into binge eating and was heavier than I was before I went to that coach. So it's not just like if you try and go way too unsustainable and way too fast, it's not even that you might end up where you started. You might end up even in an even worse situation. So I've rambled about this long enough, but go slow to go fast. Slow changes. I'm not going to say that line because it comes in one of the later lessons. Next one, nutrition. You don't get bonus points for having infinite clean foods. Eat enough nutritious whole foods every day and a damn chocolate bar too. So this is the idea that you'll see a lot of people who are promoting clean eating, right? Everything you eat needs to be clean. And one thing I'll mention, a big rising issue on social media is what we call orthorexia, which is essentially where people develop, it's not quite recognized as an eating disorder yet, but it will be officially in the years to come, I guarantee it. Some people do recognize it. Orthorexia is essentially when people have an actual fear of foods that aren't clean or are considered off limits. Or let me get the official definition up just so I'm not talking out of my ass here, but it's essentially like an obsession with clean eating basically, right? So orthorexia is a term that describes an obsession with eating healthy food. So it's essentially people who they ruminate and worry about the fact that they're going to go to the pub and that instead of using olive oil, they're going to use sunflower seed oil, and like, oh my God, what's that going to do for my health? What am I going to do? And the stress that creates, this obsession with healthy food, puts them into a state of disordered eating. But so that's where this message comes from, and that's why I'm so passionate about this. It's because I see so many people in a situation where they are genuinely fearful of chocolate or genuinely fearful of certain foods to the point where they are stressing for hours on end about the fact that in 6 hours time or in 2 days time, they have to go to a party and control themselves around this food. So what I try and do is really drive home for people that you don't get bonus points for everything you eat being clean. And there is such a thing as too much. If you go and get your blood tested for vitamins, minerals, whatever it is, there's a range, an upper and a lower limit. It's not good to go above the upper range. Like, there is such a thing as toxicity, like having too much. And we saw a lot of that when, I said this in one of the previous episodes, but we saw a lot of that when carnivore was like really a big push. We saw people getting vitamin A toxicity because everyone was eating beef liver and animal liver, not realizing how high in vitamin A it was. And vitamin A being a fat-soluble vitamin, we accumulate fat-soluble vitamins in our body fat. And people were getting into the position where they had vitamin A toxicity, which is not good. You literally are having too much of a certain vitamin that it starts to be bad. So we don't get bonus points for having more nutrients than we need. So our overall approach, in my opinion, to our nutrition should be to eat enough healthy foods that we're ticking off our overall macro and micronutrient needs, so our protein, carbs, and fats, and all of our micronutrients and our fiber. And then beyond that, we shouldn't feel bad about having a chocolate bar, having some dessert, having a beer. Like, seriously. And that's a massive lesson that I've learned, because when I was very early on in my training and nutrition and focusing on strength and muscle growth, I was this person that I'm talking to. I ate all clean, like chicken breast, rice cakes, rice, potatoes, organic corn chips with 100% corn, broccoli, all natural, all organic muesli bars. And just the thought of having like a chip would scare me. It's not a good place to be. It's really not. So trying to make sure that you have top of mind that nutrition is not about everything you eat being healthy, because foods are not healthy or unhealthy, or I don't believe so. I believe foods are either nutrient dense or nutrient devoid. So completely zero nutrients other than just calories. You're probably looking at table sugar. And then up here, you might be looking at your things like beef liver, eggs, red meat. Really high in nutrients, very low in nutrients. And foods don't fall at one end of this spectrum. They fall somewhere along the spectrum. So it's not like you just eat junk food or bad food and it has nothing in it. Because some foods that you might deem as bad actually have quite a lot of nutrients. Especially with modern day food fortification and the addition of some things that have been removed from the food during the production process or processing, sometimes they add them back in. So I'm not going to talk about that for too much longer, but you don't get bonus points for having infinite clean foods. Eat enough nutritious whole foods every day and a damn chocolate bar too. All right? Don't be off or on. Treat your training and nutrition as a dial, 1 through 10, that you turn up or down depending on what else is going on in your life. So this is a big one. This is very closely related to the all or nothing mindset. A lot of people see their training, nutrition, their healthy lifestyle as an on or an off switch, as a light switch, where they're like, I'm either training or I'm not. I'm either eating clean or I'm eating dirty. I'm either doing a lot of steps or I'm doing no steps. There's no in between. And that's not realistic because life is dynamic. And to give you a personal example, over the Christmas period, I was swamped in work for my business. Even just the week prior to this one, again, swamped. Massive days at the computer. Over that time period, I trained on average 1.5 times a week. So like over the month, I was probably training 1 or 2 times per week. But that was still better than no training sessions. I didn't want to train those weeks, truthfully. I had too much other shit that was on my mind and that I wanted to prioritize. But those weeks, I didn't just give up and just fucking throw my hands in the air and stop altogether. I just turned the dial down. So I imagine that when we have sort of dials that we can turn up and down as opposed to on and off switches. So instead of having an on and off switch for your training, an on and off switch for your nutrition, have dials. And it's like, okay, work's really good at the moment. The kids are at school at the moment. I don't have kids, by the way, but work's really good. The kids are at school. Me and my wife, everything's going really well. Life's just good at the moment. I'm going to turn my training up to an 8 out of 10 intensity and my nutrition up to a 7 or an 8 out of 10 as well. I'm going to put those as a really big priority right now because I have the room to do so. And then we fast forward 3 months and it's Christmas holidays. We've got Christmas coming up. The kids are at home on school holidays. Me and the wife have been around each other and we're a little bit in each other's faces and, we're a little bit stressed about money. I'm still at work, even though I'm supposed to be on annual leave. I'm still answering calls, blah, blah, blah. I don't have the time right now or the energy to be at an 8 out of 10 for my training and nutrition. But instead of just doing nothing and turning those switches off, I'm just going to turn training down to a 3 out of 10. So instead of going 4 times a week to the gym, I'm going once or twice. Or I'm going once to the gym and doing 1 run. And then instead of turning my nutrition completely off, I'm just turning it down to a 4. My only goals for the whole day is eating enough protein and eating enough fruit. That's it. And that alone is still better than turning off. So I am very passionate on, this is something all my clients would know as well. when they are telling me that, they're just gonna wait till Monday, it's been a shit week, I'm like, go and do something. Just one thing. As long as you don't let that dial go down to a 1, we're good. So it's trying to, if we have this dial analogy where we have training and nutrition as a dial 1 through 10, 1 being very low, 10 being extremely high, we want to live between 3 and 8 if you're just gen pop. If you're an athlete, you might have periods of time where you go to a 9 or a 10 out of 10 and a 1 or a 2 out of 10 in your deload weeks or post a marathon or something like that. But very rarely do we live there for a long period of time. We can't live at a 10 out of 10 unless it's our job. Maybe we can live there if it's our job, but if we're just, a Joe Blow who's working and trying to get stronger in the gym and eat well, we probably don't want to live at a 10 out of 10 with our training and nutrition, because that can easily become neuroticism and easily bleed over into reduced performance at work because we're training so damn much and we're overtrained and underfueled. There's a lot of downsides to being all in. So making sure that we avoid this tendency to feel the need to be on or off, and rather turn that dial up or down. If we think about our health dial overall, which has got one big dial, we can turn that up or down too. Trying to keep it as high as we can, but in relation to everything else we have going on. And understanding that physical health, that's not what health is. Health, if you look up the definition, is a balance between social, mental, and physical well-being. So sometimes that health dial can stay at a 7 out of 10, even though you're training 2 days less per week because you're focusing more on your mental health or more on your social health. But that's beyond the scope of what I have the time to talk about today. So number 6, getting really lean under 10% body fat is fun, but you'll feel like shit, train like shit, and be hungry all the time. Not sustainable. I'm really selling it to you, aren't I? Getting lean is really fun. Just before we went to Europe last year, in about June or July, I set myself the goal of getting pretty damn lean. And I achieved that. It was fun when I was in the gym. Like that 1 hour or 2 hours when you're in the gym training, getting a pump, you see yourself in the mirror, you're like, fuck yeah, I'm getting heaps lean, this is awesome. But then you remember, I've gotten 5 or 10 kilos weaker on my deadlift, or my squat, or my bench press. I can't wait to go home because I'm so fucking hungry. And then the other 23 hours a day where you're not at the gym, you're hungry all the time, you're never full, you're a little bit grumpy and irritated because you're so hungry. Your hormones are in the gutter, your training sucks, your recovery sucks, your sleep sucks. Realistically, I think for most people, getting to 12 to 15% body fat for a man and about 20 to 25% as a woman, that's a good lower range where you're still gonna feel good. Women are a little bit higher just because they have higher needs of essential body fat. So when we talk about essential body fat, the amount we need to just support biological function, women actually need more body fat than men to support optimal health, basically, or really good health, especially hormonal health. So for men, 12 to 15%. For women, it's maybe 21, 22%, up to 25%. They're probably good ranges to shoot for, where you're quite lean, quite defined, quite toned, but you don't feel that shit. Every percent you go below that, the red flags start to pop up. Your training starts to get worse. You start to feel more tired. You start to be hungry all the time. You're food focused. Some disordered eating patterns start to creep in. Some binge behaviors start to creep in. You get irritable. You start going through mood swings and personality swings because you're so damn hungry and can't think of anything other than food. The reality is, getting really lean is fun, but god damn, there's aspects of it that just suck. Which is why you don't see that many people walking around that are super, super lean. Because it's hard. Not only is it hard to get there, when you get there, it kind of sucks because you don't feel that great. And the only time you really feel great is when you're taking photos of yourself or you're in the gym training and you get a pump and you're like, man, I look really lean. I'm loving the way my arms, chest, whatever looks right now. But then you go home and you like eat this massive meal and you're still hungry, but you can't eat more food because you've got this calorie deficit to adhere to. So just know that if you are committing to getting really lean, it can take over your life. Seriously. There are a lot of people who have 4, 8, 12-week periods where their life sucks because they're trying to get really lean. They're called bodybuilders. It's hard. They do it as a sport. But if you speak to any bodybuilder who gets super, super lean, like 5 or 6% body fat, true 5 or 6% body fat, they will tell you that going from 10% body fat or even 12% body fat down to 6, 7, or 8% sucks. They're hungry, they're tired, they're irritated, they're agitated. It's not a fun time, other than the fact that they are doing better in their sport. So getting really lean is fun, but you'll probably feel like shit, train like shit, and be hungry all the time. Not sustainable. On that last part, if you ever do commit to getting super lean, just know you can't maintain that. And you shouldn't expect to maintain that. Otherwise, big issues if you try and maintain unsustainable levels of body fat. Again, beyond the scope of what I have time to talk about today. Number 7, you overestimate what you can achieve in 6 weeks, but underestimate what you can achieve in 6 months. And this goes back to, I forget which one it was, go slow to go fast. So I think what happens is people think they can go from here to here in 6 weeks. Reality is they can go from here to here in 6 months if they don't do dumb shit and don't try to rush. But instead, they try to go from here to here in 6 weeks. They get 3 weeks into the process, they fuck up because it was unsustainable and way too fast, put them out of their comfort zone, they had no control, and they fall back to square one or in an even worse position than they started. They stop training and stop eating properly for another 2 or 3 months, and now they've only got 2 months to get from here to here, as opposed to 6. So I honestly think if you widen your time horizon, and instead of trying to look at all of your fitness goals through the lens of what can you achieve in 6 weeks, think about 10 times that amount of time, 10xing it. So like instead of 6 weeks, what about 6 months or 12 months? And deconstruct things with a longer time horizon, because then you'll be okay with things going a little bit slower. Because if I go, hey, let me pull out my calculator. I probably shouldn't need a calculator for this, but my brain is not okay after this week. Anyway, so if I lose half a kilo a week for 6 weeks, I lose 3 kilos. I'm like sick. I'm 3 kilos down. Great. If I lose half a kilo for 6 months, I'm 13 kilos down. If I lose half a kilo for a whole year, I'm 26 kilos down. And if I said to you right now, it's the start of 2026, would you like to be in this position next year, but 26 kilos lighter? If you had that much weight to lose, you would take that every day of the week. You'd want that. But instead, what you try and do is lose 26 kilos in 12 weeks. You fall on your face, you go back to square one, or you even gain some more weight in that sort of binge process on the other side, and then you end up at the same spot next year anyway. Still with that same 26 kilos to lose. Instead of working on, this is a bonus lesson for you. If, you know what, I'm even gonna freaking write this down, because sometimes I have these ideas and I think I wanna write them down. The things that get you where you want to go, that's the important stuff. So it's like if you woke up tomorrow and got gifted the body of your dreams that you've been trying to get for all these years, you'd feel great, but I can guarantee within the space of 3 or 4 months, you'd lose it. I could gift you an extra 15 kilos of muscle mass and 20 kilos less body fat, and you're cheering, you're super happy with everything, but you haven't learned how to maintain it, let alone further improve it. So you get gifted this outcome, this thing, but then you have no clue how to improve it. So the actual important things that you're learning when you're committing to a longer time frame is, okay, how does this actually work? Instead of starving myself for 6 weeks and not knowing how it works, like I just didn't eat and I got to where I wanted to go and then I gained it all back. What the fuck? Instead of doing that, why don't you work out what's a calorie deficit? What specific diet, what specific meal structure helps me adhere to a calorie deficit? What foods are the most filling for me in a calorie deficit? Do I respond better going a little bit more aggressive or a little bit more sustainable? Do I respond better to doing 5 days in a deficit and 2 days at maintenance, or just all 7 days of the week in a calorie deficit? That trial and error process and making mistakes on the journey to where you want to go, that's the stuff that you need to pay attention to. Because that's the stuff that not only helps you do this process again in the future if you need to. For example, you lose 10 kilos, you gain 3 kilos back, you can just snap your fingers and lose those 3 kilos because you've learned how to do it. So I think it's really important to widen your time horizon so you give yourself time to make mistakes, learn from them, and actually learn not how to get to your end result, but also maintain it. Number 8, or did I cover everything there? I did. Number 8, this sort of loops in with that one as well. Small changes over a long period of time. That's how you make things stick and turn into habits that run on autopilot. If you work on making small changes and being consistent with those small changes that you implement over a very long period of time, eventually they just turn into habits and they just happen. For example, I don't really count my calories, like at all. I don't count my protein. I just eat. But I can guarantee that I never undereat my protein needs. So if I'm currently, what am I, 85 kilos, 1.6 grams of protein per kilo of body weight, 136 grams of protein. Some people would hear 136 grams of protein and be like, holy fuck, I only eat about 50. Whereas I think back to yesterday, I probably had about 40 grams in the morning from eggs and yogurt, another 80 grams across 2 meals with mince, and then some dinner, which had another probably 40 grams. So there's about 160 grams there already. And that's not me having to think about it. It's just something that happens on autopilot. I don't miss my protein because consuming 3 to 4 or 3 to 5 servings of high protein containing whole foods on a daily basis is just part of what I do. It's just a habit. It just runs in the background. And if I don't do it earlier on in the day, my brain's like, brother, protein. I'm like, oh, that's right. We need to eat protein. And then I look for a bigger serve of protein with my dinner. So if you actually commit to, again, like I was saying before, widening your time horizon and letting things take 12 months instead of 12 weeks, you give yourself time to implement small changes, adapt to those changes being a part of your new lifestyle, this new version of yourself that you've created. And then if you do them for long enough, they just turn into habits. And when things turn into habits, it makes room to add more things. So for example, if I'm working with a client, I've had a couple of clients like this, they want to start getting into the gym and training 4 times a week. I start them at twice a week and get them to make going to the gym twice a week, make that a habit where it's just like, I don't even think about it. Every week, I just train twice a week. All right, now we're going to have you train twice a week and eat 100 grams of protein. Going to the gym twice a week, it's just a habit that runs in the background. Now we're focusing on the protein. This just happens automatically. Now we're focusing on the protein. 2 to 4 weeks go by, we're hitting our protein consistently. Okay, now going to the gym twice a week and hitting our protein consistently, they sit over here in the habits section. And then we introduce a new behavior. So it's essentially like making big changes is just a culmination of small changes that you've done over a long period of time. And instead of just being like waking up tomorrow, like a lot of people did on New Year's Day and going, I'm gonna run 7 times a week, so once a day. I'm gonna go to the gym 5 times a day. I'm gonna eat all my protein. I'm gonna eat 2 serves of fruit. I'm gonna eat 5 serves of veg. I'm gonna get 10,000 steps per day. I'm gonna sleep 8 hours per night. I'm gonna do half an hour of journaling a day. I'm gonna brush my teeth morning, midday, and night. I'm gonna blah, 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 blah. They have this massive amount of change that happens at one specific time, and they wonder why it doesn't stick. Because there's no habits there. You haven't given them the time to turn into habits. You've just created chaos, absolute chaos. So my personal opinion, it's a lot better to implement small changes over a long period of time. And once one change starts to stick and makes more mental space free to then focus on new habits, you start layering in more habits. All right. Number 9, I think it is. Number 9, training quality over training quantity. 2 intentional and focused weight sessions per week is going to be better than aimlessly throwing shit around 6 times per week. So this is in the context of weight training for the most part. So trying to gain muscle, build strength. I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of, I need to gain muscle or I need to get stronger. I'm gonna train 6 days a week, or I'm gonna train 7 days a week. But it's missing the forest for the trees. Because what gets you stronger, what builds you muscle, is how hard you train. There is a certain threshold that we have to meet to build muscle, a certain threshold of effort to build muscle. There's a certain threshold of effort that we need to hit to build strength. How hard that is beyond the scope of this video, but I will touch on it maybe down the line. But if you are training 6 times per week and it's just too much for you to handle, you're just gonna fluff your way through those sessions. And I've seen it all the time as a coach where someone comes to me and they're like, training 6 days a week, making no progress. I'm like, okay, we're gonna train 3 days a week, and every single set in your program, I want you to push it balls to the wall, nothing left in the tank. I want you to get as much as possible out of every single set. And they always progress better on that compared to just going to the gym 6 days a week and fluffing about. Some people can go and train 6 days per week and train really hard, but usually they're the people who've done this for like 10 years. I can do that, but I've been training for 10 years. So of course I can. But you who've been training for 2 months, you can't. You haven't learned the skill of how to train very, very hard. You haven't. So in the beginning stages, I think personally, my personal idea around all this is that you should just keep your training at 2 to 4 days per week. And just every time you walk into the gym, just focus on training as hard as you can and continuously reset what hard training means. Because when a lot of people get into the gym and they do a set, they're like, man, that was an 8 out of 10. But if I did the same set, I'd be like a 2 out of 10, I don't know. Just because I have the context of what a 10 out of 10 really hard set feels like. Because I've had 10 years to experience it. Someone new who's only ever experienced 10 reps with really light dumbbells, they don't know what a 10 out of 10 set feels like where your eyes are gonna pop out of your head. So they don't have that context as the 10. So they can easily do a set that looks really easy and go, man, that was an 8 out of 10. Because they don't have the context yet. So long-winded way of me saying, personally, I think training quality over quantity. So focus on, if you're new to the gym, focus on 2 to 4 days a week and just really be intentional about making sure that you're always increasing the intensity or the quality of your training on a week-to-week basis by working that little bit harder on a week-to-week basis. Again, small changes over a long period of time. Working just that little bit harder each session, week on week, session by session. By the end of the year, your effort per set will look wildly different. And that's when the real results actually start. Number 10, you'll have a shit week and you'll want to wait till Monday to start again. Don't. Doing one shit session is better than no session. I can't remember who it was that I saw the other day, but it was something that really stuck with me, and I've like burned into my brain since I read it. And it was the idea of suck, don't skip. So it's this idea that if you have committed to 3 days per week of training, it's always going to be a better idea to suck as opposed to skip. So let's just say I'm like, hey, I want to train 3 days per week. And there's a certain day there's a certain week where I'm only going to train twice per week. It's now Sunday midday and I don't feel like going to the gym. So that means I'm only going to train twice this week. But you made a commitment to yourself that you're going to train 3. So to make sure that we don't lose self-confidence and self-autonomy or our belief in our own ability to do things, our self-worth, suck, don't skip. So the workout for that Sunday might be a max set of push-ups, a max set of single leg squats in the doorway, and a run around the block. Workout number 3, ticked off. It kind of sucked. It wasn't a great workout, but at least you didn't skip it. So, but coming back to what I actually wrote is you'll have a shit week and you'll want to wait till Monday to start again. Don't. Doing one shit session is better than no session. So doing something this week is better than waiting till Monday. Improving having a really shit Sunday, a really shitty breakfast and lunch on Sunday because you were out with friends and you ate a bunch of oily, greasy food, super high in calories, doesn't mean that you have to wait till Monday morning to have a good breakfast. You can have a very nutritious dinner on Sunday night. You can start again straight away. Missing a session on Wednesday, I said this the other day in one of my pieces of content, missing a session on Wednesday doesn't always have to mean you have a shit week. It just means you missed a session. Like, it's not that deep. You just missed a session, just try and go again the next day, or the next day, or the next day. Get out of the habit of something going wrong and just going, this is too hard, I'll start again Monday. Start again now. Straight away. Try to delay the time it takes you to make a mistake and start again with the new thing you've learned, because after you make the mistake, instead of beating yourself up, you reflect on the mistake, learn from it, and do something different the next time. Change the behavior you do in the same situation next time because you learned from your mistake, not through uppercuts at yourself for that mistake. Okay? So I think that's a big message to drive home. You'll have a shit week and you'll want to wait till Monday to start again. Don't. Doing one shit session is better than no session. Bonus tip. So 10 lessons from 10 years in the gym. Tip number 11. Bonus tip. Sometimes it's hard, but holy shit, it's worth it. Plus, 10 million trillion self-confidence points when you take care of your body. When you commit to improving your health, improving your fitness, improving your nutrition, improving your healthy lifestyle habits, it's hard. And sometimes it sucks. And sometimes it means getting up at 4 a.m. to go and train for half an hour. Sometimes it means getting up hungover on Sunday and going for a run or going for a heavy weight session. Sometimes it means that, and sometimes it sucks, and sometimes you won't want to do it. If you're committing to a fat loss phase, sometimes you're going to be hungry, sometimes you're not going to want to meal prep. But at the end of the day, that level of suck is so small in comparison to what some other people have to deal with. Like and at the end of the day, it's choice. Like, you chose to try and lose fat. You chose to try and get stronger. You chose to try and gain muscle. You chose to improve your nutrition. All this stuff is our choice. We are choosing to make an improvement. And what a privilege that we have the ability to make a choice to go to the grocery store and buy all this nutritious food to improve our own health. So trying to remember that if it feels hard, it's okay. It shouldn't be like 10 out of 10 hard. If it is, you probably need a better process or a better coach. But it's hard. It's going to be hard. It's going to suck. And there's going to be times where you just don't want to do it, but you do it anyway. Or you make sacrifices because it's worth it. And I know for sure that when I show up for myself in regards to my nutrition, my training, my overall activity levels, general healthy lifestyle, I'm better in every other aspect of my life. Whether that's work, as a husband, as a freaking dog dad, as a son, brother, whatever it is. When you look after your health and fitness, when you look after yourself, you just are a better human. You show up better for the people around you and for yourself. So goddamn, it's worth it. So that is everything. So 10 lessons from 10 years in the gym without any generic Chat GPT shit. Number 1, be proud now, even if it's just for doing 5 minutes on the treadmill. Otherwise, you never will be proud. You'll keep moving the goalposts further away. Number 2, have fun. Seriously, have fun. You're gonna be doing this shit for 10 plus years. Make room and plan for some chocolate, ice cream, and margaritas, plural, in moderation. Number 3, go slow to go fast. Trying to rush things will just make you do dumb shit and slow down your progress. Number 4, you don't get bonus points for having infinite clean foods. Eat enough nutritious whole foods every day and a damn chocolate bar too. Don't be off or on. Treat your training and nutrition as a dial 1 through 10 that you turn up or down depending on what else is going on in your life. Number 6, I think. Getting really lean under 10% body fat is fun, but you'll feel like shit, train like shit, and be hungry all the time. It's not sustainable. Please don't try and sustain it. Number 7, you overestimate what you can achieve in 6 weeks, but underestimate what you can achieve in 6 months. Number 8, small changes over a long period of time. That's how you make things stick and turn into habits that run on autopilot. Number 9, training quality over training quantity. 2 times intentional and focused sessions per week is probably going to be better than aimlessly throwing shit around 6 times per week. Number 10, you'll have a shit week and you'll want to wait till Monday to start again. Don't. Doing 1 shit session is better than no session. Bonus tip, sometimes it's hard, but holy shit, it's worth it. Plus 10 million kajillion points for your self-confidence when you take care of your body. All right, so that is 10 lessons learned from 10 years in the gym. Let's see if we can get Hank in here to sign off the podcast. Hank, come here. Come on. Come here, bud. Doesn't want to. Too bad. I'll be back. Here we are. Someone was having a big nap on the couch. All right, episode number 4 of the Coastal Performance Nutrition Podcast. My name's Callum. This is Hank. Hank's gonna finish us off with a yawn. 3, 2, 1. Big yawn. Nah. There it is. Is it coming? Nah, he's good. All right, thanks for watching. Thanks for liking, sharing, commenting, all the feedback across not just the podcast, but everything that I do and put out into the social media verse.